juhi@such.org.in.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Race to Power with me, Molly Gambhir, and here's a quick look at what's lined up for you on the show tonight. We are starting off with what's happening in the United States, where the FBI is ramping up investigations into some of the most sensitive and high-profile cases. We tell you all that you need to know. We also tell you about the latest on the race to power in South Korea, where campaigning for the presidential elections has entered the last phase. All this and more coming up. And starting off with the United States, the FBI is ramping up investigations into some of the most sensitive and high-profile cases, including cocaine found inside the White House in 2023. In fact, a major leak at the Supreme Court and undetonated pipe bombs discovered in 2021, Washington, D.C. The deputy director of the FBI has said that these probes are receiving renewed focus and additional resources. The cocaine found in July 2023 was discovered in a lobby area near the West Executive Avenue entrance of the White House. But the Secret Service initially closed its inquiry, citing lack of evidence. Donald Trump had claimed that it was unlikely the drugs belonged to anyone other than then President Joe Biden or his son, Hunter Biden. And after assuming office in January this year, he pledged to launch a full probe into what he called bad things that had taken place during Biden's era. And the Secret Service said it had insufficient physical evidence to move forward with the cocaine case. But the FBI's renewed investigation suggests that new leads may be emerging. The FBI is also looking into who leaked the Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization decision, which led to the overturning of Roe versus Wade in 2022, sending abortion rights decisions down to the state level. In fact, the leak shocked the country and drew strong reactions, with Donald Trump demanding the arrest of the journalists involved. The investigation has also been opened into undetonated pipe bombs that were planted outside the Democratic and Republican parties' headquarters in Washington, D.C. on the eve of January 6, 2021. Over 600 tips and more than 1,000 interviews have been conducted. The Deputy Director of the FBI urging the public, in fact, to come forward with any information that could aid the investigators. And for more on all of this, let's go straight across now to our correspondent, Susan Teherani, who's been tracking those developments very closely, is with us from New York. Hi, Susan. Just help our viewers understand what's changed from the time that the Secret Service had said that it did not have physical evidence to proceed in the cocaine case specifically, and to where things stand right now. What are you picking up on what the investigations are looking like?
Yeah, these are investigations that the Republicans really wanted to hammer in on all through the Biden administration when each of these stories came out and nothing was done on the part of the FBI or Secret Service. You ask a group of people here in the United States, they will say that the Biden administration played politics with all three of them and decided to put the files in the back burner or kick the can down the road. You ask those that supported the previous administration, they say, well, there was nothing to see there. There wasn't sufficient evidence. But Dan Bongino, the person that we're talking about, the deputy FBI director, very quickly, he's a former Secret Service. He's a former law enforcement. But all throughout the Biden administration, he had a very, very successful podcast in which he talked about all of these things. And I think him, along with Kash Patel, who also not only was on podcasts all the time, but was vocal about these issues, notably the cocaine in the White House and how they couldn't figure out who that was from. Now they have the opportunity to go deeper and investigate, because all of these three cases, while there are shocking just on the surface, they were also very politically charged during the 2020 elections when, after January 6th with the pipe bomb, and then moving forward throughout the Biden administration. So it's the FBI investigation on the one hand, but the politics of it on the other hand as well. That'll be interesting to see, where these get down to.
All right, Susan Teherani, thanks very much for joining us with those updates for now.
Thank you.
And meanwhile, US President Donald Trump continues to issue pardons for his close supporters. The day he took office in January, remember, he pardoned more than 1,000 people charged in the Capitol riots case. And in the latest, the US president has issued a pardon for former Virginia Sheriff Scott Jenkins. Donald Trump, in fact, announced that decision through a post on his social media platform, Truth Social, granting full and unconditional pardon to Jenkins. The US president accused Biden of weaponizing the Department of Justice and dragging former sheriff and his family through hell. The pardon from the US president comes just before Jenkins was about to report to prison for a 10-year sentence. In December last year, a jury found him guilty of 1 count of conspiracy, 4 counts of honest services fraud, and 7 counts of bribery. Jenkins served as the county sheriff for 12 years. He was first elected to the post in 2011 and won re-election twice, running as both a Republican and independent. Trump has for long accused Biden-era DOJ of pursuing politically motivated prosecution. And Trump accused the Biden-appointed judge who was handling the former sheriff's case, treated him unfairly, according to him. Jenkins reportedly asked for pardon last month from Trump. And we're shifting focus for now to what's happening in Jammu and Kashmir in its effort to revive tourism there after the deadly Pahalgam terror attack. The Jammu and Kashmir government, led by Omar Abdullah, held a special cabinet meeting in Pahalgam This marks the first time a cabinet meeting is taking place outside the traditional summer capital during this government's tenure. Expressing his solidarity with the town that has witnessed a sharp fall in tourism, the Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister said the government will not be intimidated by cowardly acts of terror.
तशद्दुद, खून खराबा, इन चीज़ों के हवाले से हमारा जम्मू कश्मीर में तरक्की का जो एजेंडा है, जम्मू कश्मीर की खुशहाली का जो एजेंडा है, जम्मू कश्मीर के लोगों का की जो नुमाइंदगी करने का जो हमारा एजेंडा है, वो रुकेगा नहीं.
And while Omar Abdullah held a cabinet meeting in Pahalgam, Jammu and Kashmir National Conference President Farooq Abdullah was seen playing golf at the picturesque Pahalgam golf course. Both the leaders sending out a clear message that the valley will stand tall against terrorism. Another meeting is scheduled to take place at a tourist resort in Gulmarg on Wednesday. Kashmir's Inspector General of Police is expected to be in attendance. The meeting's coming at a time when tourism in the valley has taken a hit, with stakeholders in the sector saying 90% of bookings have been cancelled. The decision to hold a special cabinet meeting comes days after Omar Abdullah proposed a dual approach to revive Jammu and Kashmir tourism sector, urging the centre to mandate public service undertakings and parliamentary committee meetings in the valley. And our special correspondent Idris Lone getting us this report. Take a look.
Chief Minister Omar Abdullah today met with the tour operators from across the country who are visiting Jammu and Kashmir for the next 2 days. He discussed with them the roadmap ahead for restoring the tourism in Jammu and Kashmir. The tour operators are also hopeful that within the next 1 month there would be revival of tourism in Jammu and Kashmir. After the Pahalgam attack that took place on April 22nd, the tourism industry has seen much impact. It has been mostly impacted with cancellations from 95 to 99%, especially after the Operation Sindoor and the escalation on the line of control. There have been zero tourists coming to Kashmir Valley, but from the last 2 days we've seen tourists coming back to Kashmir, and the government is hopeful that within the next month there'll be many more tourists coming to Jammu and Kashmir. With video journalist Firoz, Idris Lone for WION World is One.
Militancy, protests and political instability. Pakistan is on a boil. The country's northwestern province of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, in fact, is at the center of the latest political showdown. The province is ruled by the party of jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan. KPK government is facing accusations of widespread corruption, and to demand accountability, Pakistan People's Party carried out protests against PTI-led government. PPP supporters gathered in big numbers outside the Provincial Legislative Assembly. Soon, the police resorted to tear gas shelling and baton charge to disperse the crowd. The demonstration being part of the PPP's Save the Province campaign. In retaliation for the police crackdown on its workers, enraged PPP workers set on fire a PTI protest camp located near the Peshawar High Court. According to the police, crackdown on the workers followed the attempt to march towards the Chief Minister's house in the red zone. Former Prime Minister Imran Khan, who is in prison, has yet again called on his party to organize a nationwide protest demanding his release from jail. The last time PTI workers organized a march towards Islamabad, they met with rigorous police action. At least 4 people died, several others were injured, while Imran Khan's wife and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Chief Minister was taken into custody. Campaigning for the presidential elections in South Korea has entered the last phase. Two frontrunners are running last mile to clinch the top job in that highly polarized battle. In fact, the battle is between conservative candidate Kim Moon-soo and liberal candidate Lee Jae-myung. The latest polls showing Lee is 14 percentage points clear of his conservative rival Kim. Lee Jae-myung stands comfortably ahead of Kim with 49% support, while Kim Moon-soo is trailing behind with 35% support. The gap might look significant, but late entrant Lee has narrowed the gap from 20% to 14%. In third place is Lee Jun-seok of the Reform Party with 11% support. Both Kim and Lee are fighting on deeply polarized platforms, especially on energy and relations with North Korea and the US. Kim vows a hardline approach on North Korea, while Lee wants to restore hotline between the two sides. On the US, Kim wants immediate dialogue, while his liberal counterpart advocates a cautious approach. As political battle between the two frontrunners takes shape, the old guards of People's Power Party are facing travel bans. Former Prime Minister Han Duck-soo and Finance Minister Choi Sang-mok have been banned from leaving the country, both close allies of ousted President Yoon Suk-yeol. Are facing trial on insurrection charges. As the political battle continues domestically, Koreans living abroad have already made their choice. Overseas battles have landed in South Korean capital ahead of the June 3 polling. On to the Netherlands now. Far-right politician there issuing a blunt ultimatum to his coalition partners: toughen migration laws or face the collapse of the government. Wilders unveiled a radical 10-point plan to curb immigration, wielding the numbers to trigger a government collapse. His ultimatum on proposed plan may push the Netherlands into political instability. His party swept to power last year on a hardline anti-migration platform, and now he says his patience is gone. He unveiled a plan on Monday that would mark one of the most extreme migration overhauls in Europe. His plan includes deploying the military to the borders, turning away asylum seekers, temporarily halting family reunifications, deportations, and returning Syrian asylum seekers. Wilders is long known for his hardline stance against Islam and immigration. He is now in power, and he says he's done waiting. He argues that part of his plan already in place in neighboring countries like Germany, and he says that the Netherlands should be ready to exit European conventions if necessary. His party formed a four-party coalition after sweeping the 2023 elections, and now the fragile coalition faces a collapse just months after it was formed. Nepal's opposition parties disrupted the parliament, accusing KP Sharma Oli-led government of undermining national interest through privatization, corruption, and flawed foreign policies. As soon as the parliament session started, lawmakers from the Communist Party of Nepal, or CPN Maoist Center, Rashtriya Swatantra Party and Rashtriya Prajatantra Party obstructed the proceedings, and the opposition MPs rose from their seats, chanting slogans and demanding an investigation into the alleged involvement of the Home Minister in a visa-related corruption scandal.
अब अनुसन्धान कर्मचारी सबभन्दा अगाडिका सरकारले अनुसन्धान गरी उच्च राजनीतिक तहको संलग्नता रहेको तर हामी राजीनामा मात्रै माग्दै छैनौं यदि कुनै माननीय मन्त्रीजी माथि
There are allegations against a sitting minister and investigative bodies need to intervene, then that minister cannot remain in office. He must resign. These are not my personal views. This was a statement made in Parliament in 2080 by the very same lawmaker.
यी शब्दहरू मेरा हैनन् सभामुख महोदय.
In fact, opposition protests have rocked Nepal following reports of revelations that immigration officials had been collecting bribes and facilitating illegal foreign departures. using visit visas. Amid growing suspicion of the Home Minister's link to the scam, the opposition has united in demanding resignation. In fact, the opposition has vowed to block lower house proceedings and prevent the government and the ruling party leaders from participation until Nepal's Home Minister steps down. The development comes after the Commission for the Investigation of Abuse of Authority raided the immigration office at the international airport on May 22nd, and officers detained immigration chief and joint secretary and confiscated critical documents. For more on this, our correspondent getting us this report from Kathmandu. Take a look.
Oli government is not only facing heat from parliament but also from the public outrage in the streets of Kathmandu. Student unions here in the capital have gathered, wearing black bands to mark their protest against the government, demanding resignation of the Home Minister for his alleged involvement in the visit visa scam. Similarly, lawmakers obstructed the parliament session in protest, got up from their seats, chanting slogans against the government, demanding an investigation into this matter and resignation of the Home Minister. These protests come after reports of immigration officers taking bribes and helping people leave the country illegally through visit visa. Saloni Murarka for WION World is One in Kathmandu, Nepal.
And shifting focus for now, Georgia celebrated its independence mired in political crisis, which started last year. Two differing scenes unfolded in the capital. The ruling party attended a military parade and oath-taking ceremony. On the other hand, opposition leaders and their supporters participated in pro-European protests. The rallies against the ruling Dream Party have been sporadic yet consistent, as thousands demand a return to the path of an EU ascension, as opposed to the Russia-leaning approach of the incumbent government. Take a look.
Georgia has always stood in the streets whenever its independence, freedom, and future were at risk. It stood in the streets in 2008 when Russia invaded us. It has been standing for 7 months since the elections and for 6 months since the illegitimate government decided to block our path toward freedom. Georgia is standing now, and it will be victorious.
Australia has now got its youngest ever senator. Charlotte Walker, who turned 21 on the day of Australia's federal election, has achieved this remarkable feat. Walker, a member of the ruling Labour Party, was officially confirmed as a senator this week. Her victory came as a surprise, given that she was the party's third-ranked candidate. In Australia, a party's third choice rarely wins. It's usually the top 1 or 2 candidates that have a better chance of getting elected. However, it was voters that ranked Walker top in the order of preference and helped her secure the seat. Walker is set to begin her 6-year term in July and acknowledges that the new role will be a major adjustment for her. At a mere age of 21, Walker will also be earning the standard federal lawmaker salary in Australia, which stands over 205,000 Australian dollars and is equal to 133,000 US dollars annually.
Yeah, so my term will begin on 1 July. Like in the coming days after that, I'll go to Senate school. So all the new senators from all parties will sort of get taught the ropes a little bit. I think it'll be a big adjustment. You know, it is a significant amount of time in Canberra, but you know, I think it's a balance. Obviously, you are there to serve people.
And before Walker, the youngest senator was the Green Party's Jordan Steele John, who was elected for Western Australia State in 2017 at the age of 23. Charlotte's spot in the parliament comes after the unprecedented election swing that helped Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's party to win more seats than expected and give newcomers like her the opportunity to win. Albanese, in fact, has also projected that 57% of Labour lawmakers will be women. Moving on for now to Bolivia, supporters of the former president, Evo Morales, protested against the government demanding urgent action on the country's economic crisis. The supporters also challenged a court order which barred Morales from contesting the upcoming elections. On Monday, the streets of La Paz witnessed a major rally from Morales' backers, otherwise known as Evistas. VP candidate who will contest with Morales was leading the rally. Business owners from different sectors joined in.
As I say, people have two major problems. One is the economic crisis, and the second is asking the electoral body to act impartially, which means registering all candidates and not discriminating against anyone. We are going to be here in La Paz, which is the center of power, and it is the power that is abusing and mistreating people every day.
Protests by the former president's supporters became more pronounced after Bolivia's Supreme Electoral Court prohibited Morales from seeking another term. Candidate registration deadline also passed on May 19, which Morales did not complete. The current and former presidents have been at loggerheads, blaming each other for a flailing economy. In fact, Morales supporters have also repeatedly called for the resignation of the incumbent. While the leader has refused to step down, the president suspended his election bid for the upcoming polls 2 weeks ago over declining popularity.
Aunque nos quiere desmoralizar, Evo va a ser encarcelado, Evo va a ser extraditado. Veo, el pueblo está unido. Aunque nos quiere desmoralizar, Evo va a ser encarcelado.
With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Race to Power. We are taking a very short break. Stay with us.
India's Global Voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called WION Wellness Center. The WION Wellness Center provides 500,000 square feet of natural methods to manage diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, obesity, depression, anxiety, and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy in personalized programs that help you take charge of your own health. A minimum 5-day stay is recommended for best results. Book now at yowon.com.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Hello and welcome. You're watching WION World is One. My name is Mohammed Saleh, and let's start this broadcast by taking a quick look at what is making headlines at this hour. Tens of thousands of starving Palestinian civilians rushed to the aid distribution area in Rafah in southern Gaza. This comes amidst an acute shortage of food and famine-like conditions, as the Israeli occupation government now allows for some very limited quantities of food to enter into the Gaza Strip. The German Chancellor Friedrich Merz delivers his most severe rebuke of Israel to date, criticizing the massive airstrikes in Gaza as simply no longer justified by the need to fight Hamas and no longer comprehensible. Football fans from the United Kingdom in a broad rally around Liverpool, vowing to stand by the port city after a car ramming incident injured dozens of people, 4 of them seriously, and devastated the celebrations for its Premier League victory. According to a new Greenpeace report, Russia is building power lines in occupied southeastern Ukraine to link the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant facility to its own grid. And France arrests more than 20 people over 2 recent kidnapping plots targeting crypto traders in Paris and another attempt in western France.